All right. $12,000 people not registered to vote. If every one of you, before you leave here, will take one voter registration form with you and ask everybody you see, everybody you know, everybody you think you might know has already been registered. They might not be, or they might need to update their registration because they changed their name due to divorce or marriage, or they've moved because they sold a house or bought a new house or moved into a different apartment. They need to be registered at their current location. Take one of these, do your best, and have their person fill it out. They can mail it in, or very easy. On the back, you can just fold it, put the address there. Here in Edgecombe County, it's very easy. It's Post Office Box 10, Tarboro, North Carolina. Mail it right here to the Board of Elections. You can bring it in, but if it's easier to mail, you can bring it in or mail it, either one. Or you can volunteer to take it in yourself for them. Help them fill it out and bring it in yourself. That way, we know that they're registered, they will be able to vote. If they don't get a chance to register, they can still register during early voting. The dates and times, as we've said, are on the back of the flyer. Also, the time limits for the absentee ballot. We've been talking about absentee balloting. That's very important for someone who's been ill, someone who doesn't get out a lot. It's very convenient. You request it by mail. It comes to you in the mail. You send it back by mail. You can request it in person, and you can take it in by hand deliver it right here to the Board of Elections. But you don't have to. The convenience of the absentee balloting is it can go in the mail. It's got the information of when you need to register at the one-stop voting during early voting, what you need to bring as a form of identification and address. Now, we have the support of the judicial system saying that the Republican-backed voter suppression bill, the monster ID law, has been stayed and overturned. And so you don't have to have a voter ID with a photo by a government agency only in a limited number of forms. You do not have to have that to vote this year, even though they've been advertising it for years. Am I right? Am I right? Right. We knew it was voter suppression, and the court said, duh. All right. You still need to have some kind of identification to register. And that's your identification, and that's right here at the bottom on the back of the flyer. So I wanted to point that out to you. I also wanted to point out that Charles Meeker is running as Commissioner of Labor. And we want to make sure that the next time we get in an elevator, we don't see Sherry Berry's name written on the inspection sticker. Because she can take time to stamp her name on the inspection sticker of every elevator, but she can't take time to help workers who've been cheated of their wages and their overtime by their employers. So we need to elect Charles Meeker for Commissioner of Labor, stronger emphasis on worker safety through education, and correct classification of people who are exempt from overtime, so that overtime is paid to people who are doing hourly wage work and that they are paid what they are owed. He used to be Raleigh's mayor. He's been 8 years on the city council in Raleigh before that. His flyer information is on the table. He is also a candidate for one of the offices in our Council of State. We also had scheduled to come and appear today Dan Blue III. He's unable to make it. Dan Blue III is running for treasurer. He's running to replace Janet Cowell, who is not running for re-election. And we really need to make sure that we do all we can to elect Dan Blue. His family has been in politics a long time. He is a lawyer who has worked with the Treasurer's Department, and he knows what is going to be needed. He has the backing of our current treasurer, Janet Cowell, and he's a good Democrat. And let me tell you, that's what we need, more and better Democrats.
Yay!
All right. Now, Miss Viola, and thank you for coming and speaking your speech. I appreciate it. She said that the Army says they've got boots on the ground when they go somewhere. And we say shoes on the ground somewhere when we say we're doing our walking. And the Nash County women say heels on the ground. But I want you all to look at what I've got on the ground today. I've got on my Usain Bolt shoes. And before that, Michael Johnson. They wore gold shoes because they were the fastest men on earth in the Olympics. And I may not be the fastest person, but I'm going to go the strongest, and I'm going to go the longest, and it's going to be from here to November 8th. So I want all of you to lace up your gold shoes, whatever color they may be, and get out here and help us register those who have not registered. And ask people to be a voter. It's very important. If you just ask someone to vote, they can vote or not vote, and it didn't make a difference. But if you ask them to be a voter and to embrace being a voter as one of the characteristics of who they are, then a voter votes. A voter just doesn't sit home. And that pledge is important. We have faithful voter cards on the table here, and if there's anyone who would like to fill that out, if you have an email address, you will be emailed your precinct for election day. And the card is double-sided. It has your place for you to put your address on the other side. The card will be mailed back to you to remind you when early voting is started, to remind you to vote so that you don't let it slip by you. These cards are part of a citizens initiative in civics and responsibility that will be in the churches next Sunday, not tomorrow, but the fourth Sunday. So you may see that card again. And I want to say one more thing about patriotism. As far as our elections, we have our red, white, and blue flags and our shirts and our tablecloths. There's one party that seems to think that they are the only party and the only members that can be patriotic. But patriotism is love and support of your country. It's not the same kind of love and support we give our family members and friends, because we don't try to change our family members and friends. We love them for who they are, and we accept them for who they are. Right? But when it comes to our country, we are the government. Our elected officials are people we hire to work for us. And if you've ever run a business or you've ever hired a babysitter or a lawn service, then you check out their credentials, you call for references, you look at their resume, you give them instructions, you have the orientation session, and then you let them do the work you're paying them to do, and if they don't do it right, well, you can have a counseling session, but if not, they get fired. And we've got some people that need firing, because we are not sitting up here saying we're patriotic and accepting our government for what it is. We're being patriotic to make it the best government it can be. We're being patriotic to improve it, to work for all of our citizens, to take care of our citizens, to work for peace and prosperity for all of us, and justice for all of us, and good education for our children. Now, I made a couple of notes, so I want to make sure I didn't forget something that I thought was pretty important. Elaine Marshall just reminded me that as Democrats in North Carolina, we have the strongest ticket we have ever had. So we need to make sure that we tell our friends and neighbors that that is another reason that we need to vote